1. The moment you feel the shift before you hear the change. Most of the time, silence doesn't arrive all at once. It leaks in slowly. At first, it's small. They reply a little slower. They're busy a little more. They stop asking follow-up questions. You notice they don't really lean in the way they used to. The good morning texts disappear. The long messages turn into yeah, okay, sure. Your mind tries to protect you. Maybe they're tired. Maybe work is stressful. Maybe I'm overthinking. But your body knows. Your chest feels heavier when their name pops up. Your stomach tightens before you even open the message. You feel a distance no one has acknowledged yet. That is the first language of silence. Energy shifts before behavior does. People rarely say, "Hey, I'm going to start pulling away now." They just do. You feel it in the pauses before they answer, the way their tone turns flat, the way their eyes drift when you talk, the way they no longer ask how you really are. And you start to carry the entire emotional weight of the connection by yourself. 2. What their silence might actually mean, that no one explains to you. Here's the hard truth. Silence doesn't always mean they don't care. Sometimes silence means they don't know what they feel yet, are afraid of conflict, are overwhelmed by their own emotions, were never taught how to speak honestly, are terrified of being the bad guy. Some people were raised in homes where speaking up led to shouting, stonewalling, or punishment. So now, as adults, they disappear instead of communicating. Others carry shame. They don't want to say, "I've changed. I can't give you what you want. I'm not ready. I'm scared." So they let their silence do the breaking for them. And yes, there are also people who use silence as a weapon, who withhold replies to make you chase, who pull back to feel powerful, who know their absence hurts you and lean into it. But in many cases, silence is not pure cruelty. It's emotional immaturity, avoidance, fear. It doesn't excuse the impact, but it explains the behavior. 3. When silence is protection, not punishment. Not everyone who goes quiet is trying to hurt you. For some, silence is survival. If they grew up around shouting, explosive anger, unpredictable reactions, they may have learned that speaking up is dangerous. So now, when they feel misunderstood, cornered, criticized, they shut down. Not because they don't feel anything, but because they feel too much. Their brain says, "If I speak, this will blow up. If I share, I'll be rejected. If I'm honest, I'll lose them." So instead of saying, "I'm overwhelmed, I need a moment. I'm scared we're drifting," they retreat into silence that leaves you confused. This doesn't mean you should tolerate endless withdrawal. But it does mean this. Their silence might be their nervous system trying to protect them from a fight they were never taught to navigate safely. 4. When silence becomes emotional control. Now we need to talk about a different kind of silence. The kind that is not hesitant, not fearful, not overwhelmed, but intentional. Stonewalling, giving the silent treatment, withholding attention to punish you, to make you anxious, to make you chase. This kind of silence says, "I will only connect with you on my terms." It turns communication into a game. It trains your nervous system to panic when they pull away and relax only when they return. That's not love. That's conditioning. People who weaponize silence know at some level that you will work twice as hard to close the gap. You apologize faster. You doubt yourself more. You question your worth every time the messages stop. Here's the difference between healthy space and emotional punishment. Healthy space is communicated. "I need some time to process, but I care about you. I'll reach out soon." Punishing silence is vague. No reassurance, no time frame, no explanation, just emptiness that keeps you in emotional limbo. 5. What your mind does with their silence. The most painful part of someone's silence is not the silence itself. It's what your mind does inside it. When there are no answers, your brain writes its own. You replay every interaction. You zoom in on every word you said. You reframe normal moments as possible mistakes. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I expected too much. You scan your memory for the thing that broke it. Because if you can find the cause, maybe you can fix it. Maybe you can become smaller, quieter, less needy, less honest. In silence, you don't just lose their voice. You slowly lose your own. You start to doubt your intuition, your worth, your right to ask for clarity. But remember this: silence is also an answer. If someone consistently chooses not to show up, not to reassure, not to clarify, that is communication. You just don't like what it's saying. 6. How to respond to silence without abandoning yourself. You can't control whether someone speaks, explains, or shows up, but you can control what you do with the space they leave. Here are a few gentle but powerful shifts. 1. Regulate before you reach out. Don't text from panic. Don't call from desperation. Breathe. Put your phone down. Feel your body in the present moment. Your nervous system is triggered. Not because you're dramatic, but because silence reminds you of every time you were left without answers. Soothe that version of you first. 2. Name what you feel, not what they are. Instead of, "You don't care about me," try, "I notice we've been talking less lately and I feel confused and a bit anxious. Can we talk about what's going on?" That isn't begging. That's clarity. 3. Ask once, then watch. You're allowed to ask for clarity, for communication, for respect, but you don't need to beg for it. Ask, then step back. Their response, or their continued silence, is information. 4. Don't shrink to fit their effort. Your needs are not too much just because they give too little. If you need consistency, honesty, attention, that doesn't make you clingy. It makes you human. You can respect someone's limitations without making them your cage. 7. When you're the one who goes silent. Now let's turn the mirror gently toward you. Because maybe, sometimes, you're the one who disappears. You leave messages on read because you don't know what to say. You shut down in conflict because your words freeze. You avoid hard conversations because you're afraid of what speaking might break. If this is you, you're not a bad person. You're a person who learned that silence felt safer than honesty. Maybe your feelings were dismissed growing up. Maybe when you spoke up, you were punished. Maybe every time you tried to be vulnerable, someone used it against you. So now, as an adult, your instinct is to retreat. But here's the quiet cost of that. Every time you go silent instead of honest, you protect the relationship from short-term discomfort, while slowly eroding long-term trust. You protect yourself from conflict, but you also block yourself from true intimacy. You stay safe, but lonely. Healing this doesn't mean you suddenly become loud, confrontational, or hyper-expressive. It starts small. "I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can I have a little time to think?" "I'm not ready to answer yet, but I don't want you to feel ignored." "This is hard for me to talk about, but I'm trying." You don't have to speak perfectly. You just have to stay present. Learning to listen to silence without losing yourself. Silence can mean many things: fear, confusion, avoidance, exhaustion, emotional immaturity, sometimes cruelty, sometimes trauma. But here's what it should never mean: that you stop listening to yourself. If someone's silence is hurting you, you don't have to diagnose them to honor your pain. You don't have to turn yourself into someone easier, quieter, less needing, just to earn the bare minimum of effort. You are allowed to say, "This level of communication doesn't feel good to me. I need clarity to feel safe. I care about you, but I also care about me." Sometimes, the most powerful response to silence is not another message, another explanation, another attempt to prove your worth. Sometimes, it's a quiet decision inside you that says, "I hear the message your silence is sending, and I'm going to choose a life and a love where I don't have to beg for a voice that wants to be here. You deserve people who show up with their words, their presence, and their actions. Until then, let this be the place where your own heart finally feels heard. There's a kind of distance that doesn't start with blocked numbers or slammed doors or a big dramatic ending. It starts quietly. A slower reply. A shorter sentence. A change in tone you can feel but can't prove. No big fight. No clear reason. Just less. Less warmth. Less effort. Less presence. And what hurts the most is not what they said. It's what they stopped saying. You feel it before you can explain it. You feel it in the delayed texts, the conversations that end faster, the calls that don't happen anymore. Your mind wonders, are they angry? Did I do something wrong? Did something change? Or was this always the truth finally showing? If someone's silence has been speaking louder than any "I'm fine" they've ever given you, this video is for you. Because tonight, we're going to talk about what their silence is really saying and what your heart is trying to say back. Silence can feel like a blank space, an unanswered message, a conversation that stops midair and never lands. But silence is not empty. It is loaded with fear, with confusion, with unresolved feelings, with things people don't know how to say out loud. Some people go silent because they don't have the language for what's happening inside them. Some go silent because they've spent their whole life learning that speaking up is dangerous. Others go silent because they're already halfway out the door but too afraid to be honest about it. And then there's you. You're stuck in the middle, between the last thing they said and everything they haven't said since. You replay their messages. You analyze every pause. You listen not just to their words, but to the gaps between them. Because those gaps are where your anxiety lives. In this video, we're going to unpack what silence can mean, what it usually triggers inside you, the difference between healthy space and emotional punishment, and how to respond without abandoning yourself.